almost missed your name. That is quite a problem because this is in the Ramadan. We are fasting, so it's difficult to talk at that length. But it has been an interesting one, and it's.
Greetings viewers, welcome to another exciting episode of today's episode of Africa in Sport here on African Renaissance TV Network with me, Muhammed SaidyBah, and of course with my co-host Muhammed Badjie. Well, today we are going to be discussing on the first round of the Gambia Second Division League. It's been games have been playing, and then it's 17 games that have been played by all the teams, and then the table looks very interesting, having the provincial team sitting on top of the table, in the name of Hearts FC, sitting on top of the table, 3 points clear from the second, 3 or 4 points clear from the second position. Well, so with my co-host here, I will allow you to introduce yourself to our viewers, then we continue from there.
Well, I was going to stop you right there to say, well, wouldn't I introduce myself? It's an interesting fact, SaidyBah. I'm being here, Africa in Sports, and then discussing specifically on the second division of the Gambia, which has been an interesting session, an interesting season has been unfolding. We are already halfway through the league, having played 17 games, and like you said, yes, you have the provincial boys right on top, Hearts. They're doing a great job, and then but when you look at the gap from Hearts to the second position, and even the third position, it's like only 4 points difference, which has been a revelation. But this is going to be an interesting conversation today.
Well, it's an interesting one. The second division have been an interesting games that have been playing here. From having the underdogs between of course teams that we are expecting to do great in the second division, and then of course teams that have been playing in the first division that relegated to the second division, also being beaten by teams that comes first into their first season into the second division. Yeah. So now we will go into the table proper. Now, before going into that, this program is being sponsored by the Gambian Consortium. Of course, it's important we acknowledge their support for this program. We thank the Gambian Consortium for being a part of. Of course, Gambian is also playing, and then they sit that in the table. So now, looking at the table, having the provincial boys sitting on top of the league, what's your impression of that?
Well, it's been a remarkable journey for Hearts. I mean, it's quite the opposite will be said for their counterparts in the Jaro West. But then I'm talking on Hearts specifically. It's been an amazing journey for them. I mean, looking at when the games were at, let's say, the 10th games were played, they were really not on top. But then now they fought their way on top, and then it's been a great work. They've been playing. They've won consecutive games.
They lose their first game to Glasgow.
Well, yes, that happens in football. But that is where they've set on the right footing. Having lost the first game, and they've been able to accept that and then grow from that. They've been able to play, and then they are one of the teams that are scoring really good goals, and then how do you call it, and receiving on the other hand fewer goals, and that is quite important for them. And now, even though we still only halfway, the journey has just begun. This is not a crowning moment for Hearts, but then I think they are in a pretty good position to do well.
And then if you look at the play, the fair play of Hearts FC is very wonderful. They played the whole ball, they play football, and they are young boys, very young boys. At you can say their average age, could be 16, 17 years.
Oh, that is young. I wouldn't say 16, 17, but that is quite important. I mean, when we have that, this is a milestone when you look at the football history of the Gambia. I mean, especially coming to the second division. Football normally mostly has been dominated by here within the combos, but seeing now Hearts defying odds and then being on top. That is giving people hope. You have every other team knows that well, if we are able to structure ourselves well, with a little bit of luck, we can be able to find our way to the top position, or in fact to qualify to the first division, which is the aim of every other team that is playing there. So it's a good opportunity for them right here.
Most definitely, that's a good. It's a good opportunity for Hearts FC, to maintain that position. Of course, it could be the first time a provincial team will be crowned a champion if they maintain their position.
That would be incredible. Personally, I would really love for that to happen, because it would really give us a different dimension as sport lovers, as football enthusiasts, to understand that football has been growing, and then there is diversity in football. If you have the backing of resources, talent, and then the community support or stakeholder support, we can all do well.
But personally, I don't think Hearts FC or teams coming from the provinces should be seen as the underdog. What do you have to say that? Because looking at the Gambian football, Jara Soma, for example, has one of the best stuffs in the Gambia here. Their pitch is so wonderful. The carpet is very good. With the quality that they have, and then they have been trained on that stuff. So could you see them as an underdog? Teams that are coming from the provinces as an underdog, considering the footballing nature of the country?
Generally, football. This will be like from the fan perspective to say coming from the provincial would automatically make them underdogs. But then, looking at this from a professional perspective, football has grown far from that. We don't just determine from your roof to determine that whether or not you are going to be an underdog. That exposure is now there for everyone, and that is, I think, what they are tapping on. And they have the ability and then the opportunity to sign footballers from all over the country. So that way, you are bringing in people that have been exposed to football from different teams, different parts of the country. So in the end, it wouldn't matter really where you're coming from, but how far do you want to go? How structurally are you equipped to withstand the competition? And with the support of everyone involved, the stakeholders, you'll be able to make your way. So I'm sure they are not underdogs.
Most definitely, they don't even show that underdog, in the game, because they since December have not lost any game since December. That's a great milestone. And then now moving on, their counterpart, which is Jarawes, have been struggling since the beginning of the of the season. They sit, of course, the third to last on the table.
Well, it's a roller coaster backwardness. Instead of going forward for Jarawes, they've actually having very good footballers, and then they have one of the most amazing coaches in Keba Assiste. He's an amazing one. And then when you look at the composition, even with the backroom staff, Jarawes has a youthful management that is in charge of a youthful team. But I think when you look at that, sometimes there are things that are beyond football, beyond the pitch. Jarawes, unlike many other teams, is a community team. That makes it a little bit difficult in terms of management, and this can translate onto the pitch. And they've not been playing bad football. Their football, when you observe them, they have been playing very good. In fact, they've drawn quite, like at some point, like 4 games. They've had clean sheets. So their problem had been, scoring goals, and they've created a lot of chances. Their midfielders are there, but then that finishing touch in the final third has been the problem for them. And I think when you have someone like Eva who really loves football and understands football, they would be really working together with the team, with the support of the community, to make sure that goals go behind the post. And I am sure they are going to come out of the relegation.
I believe that's a quite interesting point that you've made. And then looking at all the district teams or community teams that we have in the league, most of them are not doing well in the gym. We have Jam City, that also,
they're also struggling.
They are also struggling in the league. And of course, Jarawes, like we are discussing on, Jarawes have 16 points, after 17 games.
So that's barely a point from a game.
From a game. So it's quite a difficult one for them, I believe. And then for me personally, I believe Jarawes' problem is beyond the pitch. Like I always tell footballers that football is far beyond on the pitch. It's not only on the pitch that of course, winning is on the pitch.
Happens on the pitch.
But then, the preparation starts from a long place, from a far place, starting from where, the mentality is that important in the gym, the comfort that you have in, the support and all that, but then they have one of the greatest fans, I can say. Jarawes have been very difficult for players, for other teams when they go to Jarasoma, because they have a wonderful fan base. Now we move on to the second position, which is BK Milan, they sit on top of the table at the beginning of the season. Over almost 7 games, they sit on the table. Winning most of their games, of course, drawing few, and then losing some few games. Now they sit second on top of the table. 3 points or 4 point clear from Hearts FC. But then what do you have to say to that?
But BK is not to be regarded as an underdog, and then we have BK trolling you behind, and the second position, Hearts should not
I
feel
can say
comfortable.
from now, since the beginning of the season, BK Milan has been, of course, one of the favorites, for this.
And I wouldn't still remove them from that favorite position because they are just 3 points from the top. Well, it's an incredible position to be in. First, like you said, they've been on top. They've been on top of the table for quite a time. In the first half of this season, and they've been in this position before. Last season they've done it. They were on top, and then all hopes were high until the dying minutes, and then when they had to be toppled off by TNT, and then they've lost that track. But then that is what is an important point for them. They have that experience, so all they need to know this time is to say, okay, how do we avoid that from happening? So that is a good strength from where I'm looking at it. This is where I'm saying when you look at that 3 points difference is barely a fight in the league like this. You can lose a game, you can draw a game, and then the other counterpart can always capitalize on that. So Hearts should not sit very comfortably having BK trolling them. And
BK since at the beginning of the tournament, BK have been favorite for most of the people. Regarding that BK have been an experienced team in the league, both in the first division, of course, under the second division. Now they sit second on the table, but then looking at their previous analysis will say, BK during the first round they used to be wonderful, they played very good, and then they win games, but second round is a problem for them. So what do you think onto that? Will that reflect onto this other one?
Technically, I would say no. I hope not. It happens. It happens to certain teams, but then with the management, they have that experience. They know they've been in that position. This has been a syndrome they have, that they can do well in the first round and the second round. But then this could be attributable to many reasons. Sometimes it's beyond football. Sometimes it's about the injuries. Sometimes the mentality can also set in. But if they are able to grow from that,
maybe changing players too, because
yes.
at the beginning, maybe first round the players that you registered might change their team in the second round. Like recently, before the start of the second round, most teams are announcing the signing of new players. Like Jarawes, of course, they bring almost 4 of their old players that moved to other teams on a permanent transfer. Some come back. For example, Ibrahim Cisse of the Gambian Lions, have been sent to Jarawes for a loan deal. I believe that could be a reason to that. Now moving on to the third place, which is the Gambian Lions FC. The Gambian Lions FC, they also they were doing well. They sit. They also one time on top of the table. They one time were on top of the table. Having the same points with both Hearts and BK, with a goal difference, because we've seen Ibrahim Diallo of the Gambian Lions being a very good score, being at a very good scoring positions for most of the games for the Gambian Lions. So, what's your impression of the games? From the beginning of the
Gambian Lions has been a high fly, formerly as Gambian Lions. This is their first season. If you are looking at that as Gambian Lions, but then when you look at the management, the team, and then the playing style, I think that experience has been there for them. They know what they are doing. They might have lost a bit of track in terms of capitalizing on the opportunities on going on top, because they've had certain games that they lost few points by drawing or either losing by a single goal. But that's within this track. They are still in a pretty good position. They've been playing wonderful football in terms of attacking. Their attacking players have been scoring goals from left, right, center. Diallo, to be specific, has been the focal person, the mainstay. But then it's not just him. He's been assisted with Badjie, and then when it comes to the center of the park, I think they have one of the best midfields combination, especially when you look at their number 6, Kazuki, they call him. He's an amazing bowler, and so I think they are really in a good position. with how the league is proceeding, if they can have some 3-4 games runs of a winning run, they will be able to claim that top spot in no time. And I think they will be able to do that because they have that bargain. And this summer is the transfer window has still open, so that has given them the time to refresh some players on loan and then while also acquiring some. That is quite important.
Well, I think Gambian Dutchline, like you said, I've watched most of their games, if not all.
Well, yeah, you're a big fan of Gambian Dutchline. Don't worry.
Most of their
you can
games.
say that.
But then, I think, they have a very wonderful team. They have a very good team, that has the potential of, winning the title. Not saying they will win, but then they have the potential of that. Looking at, their strike, their forward is a very dangerous one. Having the likes of, Yori Baba. Yori Baba is an experienced player.
Yeah,
He's a very experienced player. Yori Baba, and of course, Hamankani, Yori Baba, his name is Hamankani. And of course, Ibrahima Jallo, having been the leading goal scorer of the tournament recently. And of course, Badamosi, like you said, Badamosi, he has not scored that much, but then he has been, very instrumental in the play. He assists some of the goals for Jallo, and also, he scored a winning goal, of course, for, the Gambian Dutchline FC. Now, moving on to, their next round. What do you think they should do in order to, to maintain their position, or in fact, fight for qualification to the first division?
Well, it will be quite interesting for Gambian Dutch Lions. They've been in a position that is pretty good for a first timer. I mean, when you look at a couple of players that they have, this has been their first time in the second division, even though some have not. But that is a position that they would have really wanted to be in right now, being at third position, almost on equal points with the second. So that is important. But what they will need to do, they've been actually winning games. They've had good results in terms of clean sheets, in terms of points, and scoring has not been their problem. So all that has been missing from Gambian Dutch Lions is to have a winning streak. If they can put up a 4 games winning streak, I'm telling you they are going on top.
Well, it's interesting that they've not lost 2 games in a row, but they've not also win 3 games in a row. That's something that they've not done, since the beginning of this of the league. Of course, sometimes they will win this game and then the following game they draw or lose, but then they have not win 3 games in a row.
Well,
and
I
then,
think that is important because that is where mentality sets in. So I think the backroom staff, the coaching staff would have to work on that really to make sure their footballers have that strong mentality of knowing that winning 2 games, this is a league, is not a knockout competition. So you have to be able to put up some fight to continue that winning run. It makes you believe in yourself. It makes you understand that that is something at stake that we must go for, and then that is all that is missing from them.
Now, I want to cut it from here, but then, to remind our viewers, this program is being sponsored by the Gambian Dutch Lions Consortium. It's not Gambian Dutch Lions FC, but the Gambian Dutch Lions
FC is part of the consortium.
Of course, it's part of the consortium, but then the consortium is what is sponsoring this program. They have been doing well in the second division league, and then, they have few players that are doing well. They have 2 players that are recently, in the African Games, the African Games in Ghana, with the Gambia under 20, which is Sima, a midfielder, of course, an attacking player, which is also played as a midfielder. Of course, their goalkeeper, who has one of the, the most rising goalkeepers in the Gambian league, the second division league, with most of the highest clean sheet in the second division, which is Usman Kamara. He has been doing well. Now, I would want you to focus on him, Usman Kamara.
Well, Usman is one of my favorite players in the league. I mean, for a goalkeeper, he's a modern day goalkeeper, and I look at him, to me, he's like that young Onana that the Gambia has missed for a while. His distribution as a young goalkeeper is a class above many that you can compare him to, and he serves as the sweeper keeper for them, and he's too vocal. He's someone that you really want as a coach to be behind your boys, behind your men. In terms of fighting for that, he his communications with the defenders. He would sometimes if he shouts on them, you'll be like, for his age and the players that he's talking to, you'll be like, what is happening here? At some point, I'm looking at him as someone that can, in fact, be a captain to this team. But I think the Gambia, not just the Gambia Dutch Lions, but then the Gambia as a country would really be lucky if he continues his development at this rate.
I think it's also it's very important for the Gambia to look out for him. He's really doing well. He has the highest clean sheet in the second division league, and then he's vocal, like you said, and then he's jovial. He's someone whom everybody admires.
He's one person that you would like to have in your dressing dressing room.
Yes, and then his counterpart too, Pio, in the name of Pio, he's also a goalkeeper for the Gambian Lions Consortium, FC of course, and then he was the captain of BK Milan in the previous seasons. Well, and then he's also doing very well. You can see the fight for position in the Gambian line is very
yeah, and that is what I think I've had an interview with the coach one time, and then that's one of the things that stood out for me. He said when you look at his team, there is no guaranteed 11 for him. To him, like, after a game is done, the focus has to be shifted to the next game, and then everyone will have to earn your position to the next game. And that mentality, if the players are able to absorb that and accept that, to fight amongst themselves for the next games, they will be on a journey that they will really love.
Competition is really good for the team because having two people competing for the same position will always results to a good performance from both sides. This will bring us to the end of this episode here on Africa in Sport, here on Africa Renaissance TV Network with me, Muhammed SaidyBah. And then my co-host has been Muhammed Badjie. So you can take your.
Well, you almost missed your name, and that is quite a problem because this is in the Ramadan. We are fasting, so it's difficult to talk at that length. But it has been an interesting one, and it's an honor to be here and to. Beautiful listeners and viewers out there. It's an important one. We have these programs because of anyone who is watching and listening, following. But we can always put in your inputs in our comment sessions, teams that your perceptions and your thoughts, as well as on players and teams and predictions if there are any on the currently ongoing Division 2 here in the Gambia. But it will be a fascinating thing coming from us, from the camera crew, it's all Muhammed. From the cameraman is Muhammad Lee. I am Muhammed B. Badjie, and like he said rightly, he is Muhammed M. SaidyBah. We'll come along with most and all the rest of the teams, and then the analysis will continue. But this is just a pause for now.
Well, just to remind you, this program is being sponsored by the Gambian Lions Consortium. Like I said, they are playing in the second division league and also in the third division league of the West Coast region, which is Busumbala Live. So till we come your way next time. Bye.